This is R2D Tech, and today we're going to be talking all about the new iPhone 12 mini, so stay tuned. In terms of design, this phone is pretty cool just because it's so small. It's 5.4 inches, which means it'll be really easy to use with one hand, unlike most other smartphones in 2020. Other than that though, it's your typical glass sandwich with aluminium frame. Unfortunately, no, it doesn't have stainless steel like the 12 Pro, but aluminium is kind of the standard on most other phones, like most Android phones, and to be honest, it's perfectly fine. Moving on to the display, you're actually getting quite a nice upgrade from the iPhone 11 because you are getting an OLED panel, which I think is quite a nice upgrade to be honest. OLED is obviously the superior technology at the moment until Apple release micro LED sometime in the future, but for now OLED is really good, of course really nice true blacks and really deep good contrast. Now you're getting 60Hz refresh rate with this display, which yes is quite low for 2020, but no other iPhone has had a high refresh rate display yet, so if you're upgrading from an iPhone you won't really notice the difference anyway. Now the resolution is 1080p, which isn't the highest resolution we've seen on a smartphone, but to be honest, on such a small display you wouldn't really notice the difference anyway. Now also the glass on this display actually has a ceramic coating, or so Apple say, which is 4 times stronger than their previous glass. If this is actually true, then it's a really nice feature to have, especially since I've seen so many cracked iPhones all over the place, so this should really improve on the durability. Now onto I/O or input output, you are getting the lightning port yet again, which is a bit annoying. Everyone wants to see them switch to USB-C, but there are actually rumors that they're moving away from ports altogether, since they have actually included a MagSafe wireless charging method on this device. So they have a new MagSafe wireless charger which connects to the back of the phone using magnets, and it will actually wirelessly charge the phone with much higher efficiency actually than before, since the coils line up perfectly using the magnets. I think it's a great idea, and if they are getting rid of ports, I definitely back the idea altogether. Now they do also have stereo speakers, which is always nice to see, and they don't have a headphone jack again, which is never really coming back if we're honest. In terms of the main camera module on the back, it's still that square design, which I think looks quite good actually. It has 2 sensors, one 12 megapixel main lens, and the second one is a 12 megapixel ultra wide. Now, I think that's a perfectly sufficient megapixel count, especially considering we all know that Apple's processing, software processing on photos has actually been one of the best so far, apart from the Google Pixel, of course. So I expect the images out of these to be really nice, and it's actually a great feature to have the ultra wide lens because it just means that you can get so much more in the shot. The selfie camera is also 12 megapixels, which is great to see, and again, knowing Apple's software processing, I expect the photos out of this selfie camera to be pretty good as well, and also the portrait selfies to be pretty good also. They have got that 3D sensor on the front as well for Face ID. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Face ID, but it is very secure since it does use 3D mapping of your face, so if they're going to keep it, I'm not going to complain. Moving on to video, all the cameras can film in 4K 60 frames per second, or if you're using HDR, 4K 30 frames per second is the cap. Now, this is absolutely amazing, and it will make this phone really great for vlogging and also making YouTube videos and stuff like that, especially if you're using an app like Filmic Pro when you can film with both the back and front cameras at the same time. Now, we all know that iPhones have had the best video out of any smartphone in the past, and to be honest, I don't really expect that to change. They've always had such good stabilization, stereo sound, and also just really crisp image quality as well. Now, another feature you also get with this phone is a night mode on the selfie and back cameras, which will use software processing to make your low light images a lot better as well. So just overall, this camera unit on both the front and back is absolutely great. Now, briefly onto software, you are getting iOS 14.1 straight out the box, which I think, to be honest, is a great software. I've used it on my friends' phones because I have a OnePlus 6 Android device, shout out to them. But iOS 14.1 is absolutely great. I really like the new widgets. I think they're more polished than Android widgets, to be honest. But don't quote me on that. Overall though, the animations are really nice on iOS 14.1, and some features like AirDrop are just really great and just not something that you get on lots of Android devices at the moment. Of course, Samsung are working on their own sort of version, which I think is out actually at the moment, but iOS just does it really well, so I'm not going to badmouth that software at all. I think it's absolutely great. In terms of the main spec, which of course is the most important on iPhones, you are getting the new Apple A14 Bionic chipset, which is going to be absolutely rapid, and I expect this to make the phone future-proof for quite a few years actually, and we know that Apple have promised a few years of software updates as well, so in terms of performance, I think you're going to get the best of the best with this phone. The A14 Bionic is a really rapid chipset. As usual, let's talk about a couple of extra features that you get. You get IP68 water resistance like before, but this time it's rated up to 6 meters for 30 minutes, which I think is absolutely great, so you don't really have to worry about dropping your phone in the toilet or anything like that. But also you still get that really nice double and triple tap feature on the back of the phone. If you have a case on, I will say that it doesn't work 100% of the time because I have tested it on the iPhone 11, but it is quite useful. For example, if you want to double tap to bring down the notification tray or like the control center or something like that, it's quite neat just so you don't have to reach all the way to the top of this phone. Of course, since it is the iPhone 12 mini, reachability isn't exactly a problem, but you can map these taps to do whatever you want, like open the camera app or anything like that. In terms of battery life, you're getting a 2227 milliamp hour battery, which is quite laughable in 2020 where other phones have like 5000 milliamp hour batteries. But let's not forget that this is a really mini phone, if you'll pardon the pun. And so with that OLED display, which is more efficient as well, it won't drain battery life that much. And also let's not forget that the A14 Bionic chipset is really power efficient as well. All I'll say is don't expect to get very great battery life out of this phone. I think it will be decent enough to get you through a full day, but not much more than that. In terms of charging, you do get 20-watt charging capability, but of course, let's also not forget you don't get a power brick with this phone in the box, so you will have to buy your own 20-watt charger if you want to utilize that. And in terms of wireless charging using that new MagSafe method or just a Qi wireless charger, you can get up to 15 watts wireless charging, 15 like 1.5, not 5.0 like we've seen on some other devices. It's quite a slow charging speed, it's quite a low wattage for 2020, but compared to like the 5-watt power brick that you used to get in the iPhone box, 15 watts is quite sufficient. Now, of course, let's talk about price. They have started this phone off at $699, which yes, I think is a bit high. They could have probably gone for $599 and more people would have been able to get it then. But I reckon since you are getting flagship specs and that really nice OLED display and everything else, the $699 is a pretty fair, alright price point, even though it could have been slightly lower. The last thing I want to mention briefly is the whole controversy about removing the power brick from the box. So in these new iPhones, the boxes are a lot smaller, which saves on shipping and waste when it comes to packaging. But also by removing the power brick, the argument is that most people already have a power brick at home, so if they remove it from the box, you'll end up using the ones that you already have, and it will reduce environmental waste, or at least electric waste, quite a lot. The only thing I have to say against that is if that was the case, why didn't they provide a USB-A to lightning cable in the box? Because most people have a USB-A power brick at home, but instead they went for a USB-C to lightning cable in the box, and basically no one who owns an iPhone, unless you have the new iPad Pro, will actually have the USB-C power brick, which means that you'll have to go and buy one from Apple for like another like $30 or $40 or even more than that. And then in that case, you're not really saving on environmental waste that much. So in that sense, if they had provided the USB-A to lightning cable in the box, I would have said, all right, yeah, you're saving the environment, like good for you. But since they haven't done that, it kind of seems like it's just a scheme to get you to buy their power brick and spend more money and not really save the environment, because then you're buying more packaging and another power brick. On that note, I do think the phone is still really great. That controversy doesn't really take away from the phone at all. It is a really great device, and to be honest, I would recommend it. I think it will last a few years and it's a great device. The only thing to look out for is that battery life. Other than that though, that's it for this week. If you like the video, please leave a thumbs up because it helps with the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, then smash that subscribe button and turn on those notifications as well.